This video might make you upset because I don't think the same way as other people. Whoa, what are you talking about? You don't want to agree with others? You don't want unity? You don't want harmony? Well, I could still have unity and harmony, but I don't have to agree with others. In fact, I can still think for myself and use my own brain, but I could still get along with others. That is a thing indeed. You don't have to agree with others in order to live in harmony with them. You ever think about the fact that humans being unique of themselves and free as they are themselves actually creates unity in this world because it's, well, what is intended of this world? You ever think that perhaps this sort of self-organization that happens all throughout nature, the spontaneity, the synchronicity within all things, that we as humans can't learn how to let go? Well, we might have to let go of the thoughts that we put in ourselves or the thoughts that others program into us. But indeed, what is that part that we put into ourselves? It could be, for instance, the person who does all the research, the truther, the conspiracy theorist, the one who says, well, I got the world figured out and these people, they don't. They make this a they versus me scenario, or they fit their worldview into one box or another. And the important point, perhaps, is to realize, can you see outside your own mind? Can you see outside what you have seen? Can you detach from your own attachments? Can you see the greater reality past your reality? To some, this might seem impossible. Indeed, if you even just look at the confines of language, we are programmed into how we speak. But am I speaking the way other people speak right now? I don't know how I speak right now because there's a lot of workings happening unconsciously. But see, as we become more conscious, which is why meditation exists and slowing our breath and watching our thoughts exist, we become more conscious as to what we do and what we do not do. What we do not do often has a lot more credence than what we do. Just as we understand what we don't see can actually have more impact and be more powerful than what we do see. And it's all the emptiness and uselessness in things that actually makes it very much fulfilling and useful. And that polarity is often explored in the philosophy I talk about called Taoism, which is why I wrote a whole book about it. But I'm going to be talking about in this video the cognitive dissonance cults, that which keeps us in a yin or yang imbalance, that which traps ourselves into a box, indeed ourselves, because somebody can take your body, but they have not taken your soul or your mind. That is your own. You have to yield to them in order for them to have it, actually. And that's why Gandhi would go to jail willingly for his beliefs, because he knew he was still in control of his mind and soul, and that they can take his body, but they can't take his ideas. His ideas live within the hearts and minds of individuals. And if it's true, then it's within the fabric of reality. So there is great confidence and energy and inspiration to be found within the depths of reality. But see, as we move into the depths of deception or the depths of propaganda one way or another, we come out of that and we might fall into another rabbit hole saying that we've got it figured out. This is now the truth. Let me now delve my focus here instead. But it's still a focus and it's still a box. And so this is where we have to be very due diligent. We have to evaluate ourselves constantly, go into nature, calm our mind, clear our mind, think, and discipline our mind. And so remember, it's more convincing to mix truth with lies. When you take the truth and you twist it, that is the nature of evil. Evil does not create. Evil only takes what does exist and turn it into something new. At least it attempts, but there isn't really anything new under the sun. That is the common phrase that is said throughout the ages. So then what is the truth? It is that which is beyond, before. It is the eternal. And it's that original. It's that oneness that is often referred to. It can be seen as the enlightened state, the spiritual state, the higher state, right? The inner state, even. Because do we see what's inside our soul, inside our mind? So much more. And we dream and we're like, how did I come up with all this? What is the power within me? What am I connected to? What's giving me the power of breath, which we often translate to the word spirit as in respiration or inspiration, right? So we have to then realize that if you mix truth with lies, it makes the lies more convincing, more dangerous, that then conspiracy groups or groups questioning the status quo can actually be more dangerous sometimes than the mainstream view, especially if they're the ones pulling things and causing things to get out of hand with their approach of, well, you aren't taking action enough, you don't know enough, and attacking others for their beliefs when they were them just a couple years ago, or before their new revelation that they have fell into. See, there's a reason why questioning and the Socratic method and other methods like, for instance, a natural practitioner would look at an individual and work from where they are, not imposing upon them what they should be or what they must do. There's a reason why that approach works better than the authoritarian way of saying you must do things. It's quite ironic that we would tell people what to do because we are afraid that they're being told of what to do. And in our fear, we give way to more fear. And in our way of authoritative approach, we give way to more authoritarianism, even though we think our intentions are true, even though we think we're fighting the system. And because we often associate that word fighting with a sort of physical means, or we have to be strong in order to fight. We use strong words and strong appearances, and we try to look and act a certain way, and we are now just as artificially confined as where we started, which is why we got into that mess of being conspiracy theorists. See, you wouldn't even question the truth or conspiracy topics if it wasn't for the conspiracy. But if you recognize that conspiracy shouldn't have even been there in the first place, then you recognize the conspiracy theorist wouldn't be there either. So, without 9/11, you would not have all these people that are awake. So you better think 9/11. But see, we're not going to do that, right? Because we consider it a bad event. So if we consider it bad, can you see past it, beyond it, or are you stuck there? Because there will be many years where people are stuck on just that one event. And then maybe some people are experts at speaking about it, and so they make that their livelihood, but they never go anywhere further because that's where their livelihood is. That's where they determine success, is what you focus on and what you gain money from and what you get fame from and what your artificial value is, essentially, is it's subjective. See, our subjective mind gets in the way of the subjective reality constantly, because we are viewing things through ourselves. But the problem is where we don't realize that we are this filter of our reality, that we are this subjective mind imposing and constantly projecting upon this reality. And so this video is a whole warning to all the groups that are anti-this, anti-that. For, again, they would not exist if it wasn't for something else. They rely on that existence for their existence, which is why looking at the world through right versus wrong, or this polarity versus that polarity, is incomplete and not holistic and feeding into the problem, because you're not being able to look at the holistic picture behind it. I'll put linked in the description below a video by Jason Gregory where he talks about this artificial division. Indeed, you might be someone out there who says, we need to understand the difference between right and wrong behavior. This is the answer, like Mark Passio says. But what if I said there's another perspective to that? See, people who follow Mark Passio can treat him like a cult leader when he doesn't want to be a cult leader. He doesn't want to start a religion. He doesn't want people to follow him. He's trying to train other teachers. He's trying to teach them how to use technology to think for themselves. And people will still take his words and treat him like a cult leader because they were programmed into that mindset at a young age. It's just coming back to resurface. That trauma is just resurfacing. It's just taking on a new label, a new name, but they've never actually done the inner work to truly free themselves in their own mind. They simply moved on to something that was their next best thing, that was comfortable for them. And comfortability is preventing people from moving to that next step, because enlightenment is seen as often a destructive process. Seeing past these barriers, right? And this is why it's also called shadow work, and why it can be also considered a painful process. Now, I'm not going to say what it is or isn't. Your process is going to be different from others. See, in medicine, you can't just say, this is the diet you have to do, this is the way you should eat, this is the way you should think. No practitioner would go and do this because this would not be individualized. This would not work for people. Okay, there's tons of people who give advice online. There's tons of people who talk about this social thing and that social thing, and whether they realize it or not, are contributing to certain agendas. And I come to this channel saying I don't have an agenda, which is very different, radically different. But see, even among that, people will make the agenda. It's very easy to take things out of context, to view only certain parts of videos, to view only what you want to view, to click on what you want to click on. And our brains do this, and we don't realize it. It's very easy to pick up on a habit and say, this is how people should be doing things because I'm doing it, or because I see everywhere around me that people are doing it a certain way, or whatever. It's this amazing awareness you have to see all the things that go on. And I'm telling you to see all the things that go on. But pay attention to the groups, the labels that you attach yourself to, and you can start there, and that's very powerful. Because it's very obvious. It's right in their face. You go to an interview and they ask you, what do you do? The best answer is probably, I have no title. But, just be you. But many people are quick to say, oh, I'm an author, I'm this, I'm that. And it's tempting because this is the world we live in. We live by these labels. But they ultimately degrade our humanity from realizing we're much more than those labels. And these labels don't actually contribute much to humanity within themselves, right? We're looking at the actions, we're looking at the motives, we're looking at the psychology right now. We're looking at something much deeper. If you're watching this video and you're thinking about what I'm saying and you're understanding what I'm saying, this is something way deeper than what meets the eye and what comes to the surface, which is why most people in the world will probably not watch this video. Even if it did come in their recommendation feeds, even if I was a popular person, even if somebody watched the video, they may not even understand it because, again, you have these internal biases, these subjective whims and subjective patterns that get in the way. And it's okay. It's not like you should fear this either. And it's not like you should put yourself down. It's not like you should say, I know it or you know it. I'm not here to say I know what you don't know. I'm here to say that we all don't really know certain things. And in knowing what we don't know, we then can know more. This irony, when you see it in all things, you start to see more of everything. Which is why I talked about this in many of my recent videos where I just talk to the camera like this. But you have another example where you see this cognitive dissonance cult in assemblies and people who set up sovereign connections. There's people who talk about, well, you need to correct your status. You need to file this paperwork. The system operates this way and the law works this way. And if you don't do this, this is lawful. This is legal. This is this system. This is that system. It's all man-made. It's all arbitrary. It's still not based in nature, but they'll take it as truth because it is the system we have. And they'll say, we need to work with it and we need to transition to that world you speak of, Corey, but there's no way we can embrace it now, even though it's the truth we do recognize is the truth. So we stick ourselves into a box and we identify with this anti-group, this group that's anti-something that is there. Rather than creating something new like food forest or trying to innovate on the solutions, we simply attack what is the problem. And I see this in independent media very often. You can see it in InfoWars and you can see it in many different independent media organizations that attack one side or another and are constantly, like, if you were to do a comparison of, are they introducing solutions or are they complaining about the problem? Complaining about the problem is probably 95 or 99%, even though most of the audience is constantly wondering, especially in the back of their mind, because they're not wrong, their subconscious is telling them, we need a solution, we need to do something. And for the people producing content, that might just be producing more content, especially since it makes them money, and they think that they're just creating more awareness, but they don't. All these people are not interpreting the fact that they themselves can take action and they can go outside their own means, outside their own boundaries to do even more. But that does mean, to some sense, retiring from what they have done and being able to take a step back, which I said is a very core part to returning to nature. I have 3 steps in particular in naturosophy. One is returning back, right? Stepping back. And the other one is compensation, which means like if you're using a shampoo that is unnatural, you have to be able to compensate and work with what is unnatural to make it natural in a sense. And that one's very complicated. I can make a whole video about that one. And of course, there's the last step, which is honesty, radical honesty. Really, in every proceeding is you want to be honest. You want to find the honest. You want to speak honestly. You want to ask questions for honesty. That's really the core when you have conversations with people, is you don't want to tell them what to think, but just be honest and get them to be honest. And really, it starts with you just being honest with them. They'll be honest with you over time, but that type of honesty is really core to all actions of morality whatsoever. So that's really important. You can have a lot of people online. I'm going to put a bunch of channels on the screen. And if you look at these channels, they're all attacking sovereign citizens. Oh, look at them. They're going to court. Look at the fail compilation. Oh, they're losing in court and they think they're all smart, and look at them trying to prove themselves in court, and some of them make like funny compilations out of it and trying to make, entertainment out of it. But none of these channels are actually creating anything new. They're just attacking other people, and use plenty of channels all over the internet where their whole living is made on just attacking other people, which is why I refuse to do it. Although I'm kind of doing it here, it's more of in a philosophical sense. It's not targeted toward any one individual. I welcome everybody. If Bill Clinton and, well, that's probably a bad example. I mean, they're all a bad example. Rothschilds, I mean, any of them were to be like, hey, Corey, let's build food forests, I'd be like, let's go. I'm not going to be like, oh, I'm not doing business with you. It's like, oh, I want to heal with natural medicine. All right, let's do it. Let's do it. Let's bring it to the world. It's not just going to be for you, though. It's going to be for everybody. That's the thing, right? Like you can work with these people, but that's the thing. Let's not shut ourselves out to the people that we go in with a preconceived notion and bias, saying they're never going to listen to us. They're never going to do what we do. Then we're just going to create more of a box for ourselves. And again, that is the problem. That's what I'm trying to avoid. So these people criticizing others, all these sovereign citizens, and you can't do this and you can't do that, and look, they're violating the law and they think they're right. Well, these people, they just want freedom. They just care about humanity. And you're out here attacking them for just caring about wanting to be free, wanting to be happy. And some of them fail, and some of them end up going to jail. Do they deserve it? Some of them, you might say they do deserve it, right? But the thing is that a lot of these people, they just want to be free. And there's also a lot of examples where their material works. But of course, what doesn't work is going to be more popular. The things that are negative in the world are going to be more popular than what is positive, because it causes more of a shock reaction to people. So it's like you fall into this dichotomy, and you just look at these channels, and these people claim to be seeking truth and justice and law, but yet they're just attacking others, and they're not seeing what their actual intentions are and trying to propose a better solution or approach it in a way that is not so basically making fun of them. I feel bad for these people who just want to live their lives in peace, and they're being made fun of because they're trying their best to defend themselves against a system that shouldn't exist in the first place. Their system of sovereign citizen would not exist without the government system. So to make fun of the sovereign citizens when it's they're just making up things just as much as the governments. I mean, at least they're trying. At least they want to be free. At least, they're just trying to defend what they think is right. And so, this is just absurd that people will do this. I think it's actually quite mean, and I don't see why people would make laughable content on this unless it's just profitable and they just want to be popular. And that's the truth. A lot of people produce content just for that sake. But you also have a lot of channels, Andrew Tate and all this other cultural, social BS, which I don't get into. They talk about male versus female. It's like, come on, they're not going to talk about masculine versus feminine in the divine sense and the hermetic principles. No, they're going to talk about male versus female and relationships and, the man should do this, the woman should do this, and men nowadays and female. People are making these generalizations about each other constantly. And these generalizations don't help anybody. They just put everybody in more boxes, and they don't look at things individually. Like, there's people who say things all the time, like, men are like this, and men look for this, and women look for this. And, like, yeah, there is a male and female difference in nature between masculine and feminine, but people can grow up in all sorts of different cultures and places. Let's not generalize. I do not assume, I do not judge, and it's very easy to do that perhaps, but I've trained myself to where I really don't anymore. I can look at anyone, and I can sympathize with them. I can look at anyone, and I can recognize where they come from, what they do, even if they do something wrong. I could understand, like, okay, what are they doing this for? What's going on in their brain? But people don't want to look at that because they want to look at the world through what is, again, comfortable and what is not so much analytical and philosophical or psychological, however you want to look at it, in a sense of what is the intention, what is actually going on. And if I were in their shoes, would I not be the same way? Would I not think the same way? And what drugs are they on? What's affecting their mind? Who knows? There's a billion things in the universe, and we want to blame an individual when is there all the blame on the individual? Is there a lot of other things that we can point to? We have to investigate. But see, the investigation is always limited because you have people who stop. They stop in their tracks. They don't realize that truth is a never-ending process and a search, right? And we need to help support people if we think they're doing something wrong. We need to offer the solution rather than looking so much at the problem. And this is why, again, food forest and building that parallel society per se, building the solutions, exit and build, really is the solution itself. The solution is the solution. The problem is the problem. It sounds really like redundant, but it is, right? And so what then, do we know what to do? Because you have these polarities then, like you wouldn't have a solution without the problem or a problem without the solution. Well, it's about learning how to let go, which often is not the option. In every group, in every action group, in every activism, in every law and enforcement and this passing a bill and politicians never letting go is an option. Buy my supplements, go tell your neighbor, go vote for this, go pay for that. Letting go is never an option. But letting go is an essential part of every proceeding. In fact, we do it in ways we don't understand. It's like this yin part to everything that we do that is yang, and we don't always see it because it's the nature of yin. So letting go is very important, and knowing when to can make a really big difference because it allows us to be more receptive to what is coming in. Okay? So it's like going out, going in, right? And this process is a rhythm in this universe of recognizing where do I step, where do I move, how do I fight, how do I drink, how do I ride a bike. It's all rhythm, it's all movement. So we do this mentally too. And we need to take a break. We need to step back. And if we don't, we're still involved. We're still distracted. We're still pulled in this technology. You're watching this video. What are you going to do after? You're going to watch another video? It's possible. Or you can take a break. That's up to you. See what you must do. And ask yourself, what is it that I really must do? What do I really, actually, truly need? And it's like I have to use like 5 different words to say the same thing as to what is the honest thing to do. See, honest, true, real, right, natural. It's just all words of the same deal, pretty much so. And so natural, again, from the Eastern Chinese perspective, is spontaneous, the effortless. So what is that is most effortless? What is most easy for you? But really, what is actually easy? Okay, not like, oh, it's convenient and so it's easy, and society gave it to me so it's easy. What is actually easy? Okay, ease, like not disease, but ease, like as in healthy, as in something that's going to benefit you, something that's not going to degrade you. You can work with intelligence because you took the step back, because you were more intuitive and more listening, you let go. So now you can be more intelligent in what you do, even though you said that by letting go, I'm not doing the action that I need to do. But now you're more intelligent as to what to do. It's like if I started my channel at 16, when I was still developing my understanding of the world, my understanding now would not be as comprehensive as it is now. because I started sooner and did less time for reflection, less inner work. But because I learned how to let go as I had to in those moments, and I still do to a great extent, I am able then to shift my priorities and gain a better understanding before moving into the world. And that's very important. I had times, a good year, of a lot of rest and a lot of journaling. And that really gave me a sense onto the world. I think an enlightenment to some extent. I listened to a lot of music and did a lot of contemplation during that time. It's often said, I met a psychologist. He's like, what you're doing is not meditation, it's contemplation. So anyways, ask yourself these two questions. When you come across anybody in independent media or anybody that's producing so-called truth content, anybody that's in an anti-group, and ask yourself, what is their solution? Okay, what is their solution? So like with an S. What are they proposing? Because that will tell you who they are, what they represent, okay? The other question is, what do they not talk about or are afraid of talking about? Because I'm willing to talk about everything. You go back on my channel, I talk about all sorts of things. Okay, in fact, a lot of my videos are not on YouTube anymore because they just keep taking away a lot more of my videos. But they're on other platforms too, to some extent. But of course, also my approach might be a little different, so somebody can probably dig up something where I'm not saying things as correctly or as much as I would say it now. But still, what is their solutions and what do they not talk about? These two questions to me are really good at finding out who's the disinfo psyop people that everybody wants to claim. And there's just no point of pointing fingers like that. There's no point of saying these people are evil because they're people among us and they're people who are misguided just as much as us, okay? And they're misguiding the world. They may be in positions of power, but they're still people among us. And you never know what they can do or how they can change, how people can be, but they must be given faith to heal to begin with, okay? And if you don't start from that beginning step, they won't make it past any steps toward truth and freedom because you completely close them off. So let's keep that open mind, that open heart, and really approach this world with intelligence. That's my biggest plea from this, video. So let's move things from health to politics to psychology, okay? Realize all those medical doctors out there, realize the problem is in the mind. Realize all those political people out there, the problem is in the mind. And truly, we want to move toward a world where we don't have to talk about politics or health because we're already healthy and we already have a system of order. So we don't want health or politics at all. So let's let go of it. Let's stop talking about it. And guess what? Now we'll have more fun. Now we'll enjoy life. I was talking with my friend Mana of Creation. He's still around. And the guy's like, yeah, we're following Twitch streamers. And why? Because they're fun. And they don't care about politics. They don't care about religion. Very simple. And that's why they're able to have fun, right? And some of them are like natural born entertainers. Like we wouldn't follow celebrities, but these are like the only celebrities we follow because they're actually fun and entertaining. Like I follow Mizkif on Twitch. It's like my favorite streamer. And then there's a bunch of other people on that crew. Like I think they're natural entertainers, right? There is such a thing as people who are like naturally funny. I mean, like, gosh, I don't think people can do what he does. And it's really like, it takes a lot of work to be a streamer. People like underestimate that. People make quick assumptions and judgments, and you see it in their chats. You see it, and they're talking about it, and they're finding out about it. The streamers are learning from experience, all these people and their psychology, but you see it everywhere, okay? With every field, it all comes down to the psychology, the mind, right? The first hermetic principle, the principle of mentalism. So let's put the focus there, but realize it's all about just letting go of those labels, all those attachments, because that's what bombards the mind, what makes the mind take over society, right? The mind is not to take over society. It's supposed to be embodied with the rest of the body. It's just one part, okay? There's still the heart. There's still the soul. There's still this being, okay? The eyes, right? That sees things. But if we're so like over here in the mouth, just blah, 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 blah. We don't see, we don't hear. See, I can't hear as well as when I speak, right? And so like this is just something to bear in mind. Let us study from ourselves more than anything, especially since we are bombarding this world with a lot of things. We're creating a lot of things and we're always questioning what do we create. So the truth is more in yourselves than you think. I talk about nature as the answer, but you are part of nature. You are one with nature. You are one with your body. So learn from yourself. Thank you for watching. This is Corey Angelant. Nature is the answer.